بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Now we're moving on to شرائط القياس. Like, to do qiyas, are there any prerequisites, any requirements, certain things allowed, certain things not allowed? So, first of all, let's understand what is a qiyas, what is qiyas made up of, and the words that we're going to use. How do we understand them? So in a qiyas, you have an asal. We have a maqis alay. We can also call this al-mansus. What is this? This is a mas'ala which we're making the base for our qiyas. Correct? And this mas'ala, there's a Quranic verse, there's a hadith, there's an ijma', there's atharu sahaba, there's evidence for this. It's an old mas'ala. Yes? Okay? Then we have the fara', the new mas'ala, the hadith, it's called the fara', the maqis, the thing that we do qiyas for. Because this is the haditha, the new mas'ala. Correct? This is now the maqis. Then we have the illah, also known as al-wasful munasib. What do we have? The illah. And this illah is also known as al-wasful munasib. Illah means the shared element between the maqis alay and the maqis. So, the wasful munasib, the quality that both of these items share. Okay? Correct? And it's in both of these. Then we have the hukam, which are taking from the asal, from the maqis alay, the hukm al-mansus. Are we taking it, are we adding over to here? Okay, you following? Is that clear to everybody? Let's give an example. We have a masla regarding nawm. Okay? Again, this is explained by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's just an example of how qiyas can work. We have nawm. And we know that nawm breaks wudu. Are you following? What happens in nawm? Nawm breaks wudu. Now we want to think, well, does intoxication break wudu as well? This is a new masla, for example, intoxication. Or let's say, for example, we have general anesthetic. I guess you could call general anesthetic basically nawm as well in a way, but I don't know spell anesthetic, so if I spell it wrong, don't panic. I'm just going to do that. Yes? So we have a nawm, a sakr. Somebody's intoxicated, somebody's meaning he's been made unconscious to go operation. So we say, well, does his wuzu break in this state or not? So we know this is the what's this called? The asal, or it can be called the maqisun alay, or it can be called the mansus, the masla regarding which we have a text for, that nawm break wudu. Now what's the wasful munasib? What thing in here is shared between both elements? That's actually the cause. We say, oh, both of them at night time. So no, that's not the wasful munasib. What's the wasful munasib? What's the actual thing that breaks the nawm? You say istirkha'ul mafasil, meaning your body parts becoming loose. When your body parts become loose, then what happens? Then you lose control of your body. When you lose control of your body, you don't know what happens to you. Are you passing wind, not passing wind? So we say that the illah, the wasful munasib between the asal and the fara, the maqis alay and the maqis. This is the illa munasib. The illa, the wasf munasib is istirkha'ul mafasil. Therefore, we will say here now, this is shared in both of them. And this is what is causing the nawm to break. The thing that causes the nawm to be inaqidun lil wudu is istirkha'ul mafasil. So therefore, we will say here, naqdul wudu is known in this mas'ala. So we also say naqdul wudu will also apply to that new mas'ala. Is that clear? Yes? Acha. So this is basically how a few new words that we have learned. Now, can we do qiyas anyhow, anywhere, anytime? You say no, there are a few shurut for qiyas. In the book they mentioned 5 shara'it. I'm going to mention 5 as well here, but I'm going to break it down a bit more. There are some shara'it in the asal. Meaning the thing that you're doing qiyas upon, it has to have one condition. It can't be ghayr ma'qool. Again, it's all coming up later. What does غير معقول mean? It has to be that, look, are we able to deduce the reasoning via rationale or not? Are you following me? So let's say, for example, we say, okay, why are there 4 rakats for Asr? Don't know. Because there are 4 for Asr, but there are 4 for Zuhr. These are day prayers. But Fajr is a day prayer. Fajr is night, and Maghrib is? That's 2 and 3. You following? Why are we praying loudly? Okay, the night prayers are loud. Why their prayers not loud? These are غير معقول. It's called أمر التعبد. So غير معقول means not irrational, but beyond rational. These are called أمر التعبد. Meaning we do these, saying like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's our Lord, He commanded us to do this. We don't know why. So if the asal is not ma'qul, we don't understand the reason, we can't do qiyas upon it. Are you following? It's very simple, very logical. Let's say for example, guests came to our house, and I went and I bought some extra stuff for tea time. Now you can understand the rationale of this, that guests came to our house to honor the guests and to serve the guests and to it's daif, it's qirat daif, it's masnoon. So now we bought more stuff, we made it extra. So now you can say, well, the illan here is the coming of guests. So therefore, if I'm not there and you go out of your way when guests come next time to buy some stuff, so well, this is your qiyas, makes sense. Because this was ma'qul. Fahim? But let's say, for example, it's something I done, or the father done, or someone in the house done. And it's like, we don't know why he done this. Yes? You can't then do ta'addi of this. Are you following? Because you don't know why he's done this. Are you following? So let's say, for example, the head teacher. Now, there was emergency. Let's say one time, for example, there was a gas leak. So therefore said, Madrasa's cancelled today, everybody go home. So now, when the principal is not there, any step to take can say, well, this is the maqis is very clearly that a danger to the madrasa, a danger to the student's health, or where the madrasa is not functional, what can we do? We can dismiss madrasa. Fahim? Now, next time principal is not here, head teacher is not here, what did they do? They say, well, there's a water leak, and all the floors all flooded, la qadar Allah. Or the cold water, or the heaters were broken, and it's winter, 4 degrees, and it's freezing inside, so well, it can't madrasa. Right? They can't get in trouble really from the head teacher. Why you can't madrasa? Because, well, we got asal. The asal is, well, even logically, what the asal, you can still do it. But you get what I'm saying? That you've done this before. We know the asal. Now, one time, teacher receives a phone call. We don't know what happened. We receive a phone call, he puts the phone down. Madrasa cancelled today, everybody go home. It's amr ta'abbud. Not ta'abbud, but you get it. What's the reason behind this? Why was the madrasa cancelled? We don't know why it was cancelled. It doesn't make any sense to us. You following? Now you can't say, was it because it was Wednesday? Was it because it was Muharram? You don't know, it'll get worse. Was it because it was Rajab? You get it? We don't know the reason, so we can't do a ta'addi on this. We can't carry on, we don't know the illah. So the asal, the maqis alay, you must be a rational, we must be able to understand the rationale. If you can't understand the rationale, then what happens then? We can't do qiyas, we can't make it the asal. Number 2, the shartul illah. The illah must be cannot be a ma'na lughawi. It has to be a illah shar'i. What does this mean? We'll discuss this later on. Okay, that's the one in the illah. Yes, so asal. The asal of the shart of the fara. The shart of the fara. There's already a rule regarding the fara. Why are you doing qiyas for? It's clear. Well, it's a clear ruling. What should I do if I don't have wudu? Forget qiyas. It's already Quran, do wudu tayammum. So there's no need to do qiyas because you already got this. It's useless to do qiyas because we have already got a ruling for the maqis alay. Make sense so far? Then there's 2 rulings which are general. Number 1 is it can't be in contradiction to a nas. It kind of overlaps the shartul fara in a way. You following? And the last scenario is can't change the nas. Okay? It can't be in opposition to the nas and it can't change the nas. So these are 5 rulings and we'll go through bit by bit, slowly, yes? Okay. Number 1. So shurutu sihhatil qiyas khamsa. The conditions for qiyas to be correct are 5. أحدها ألا يكون في مقابلة النص. This came before. والثاني ألا يتضمن تغيير حكم من أحكام النص. If you do qiyas, this does not go against the nas, but it encompasses, it entails, it includes, it necessitates changing the ruling of a nas. Okay? Again, all will be explained with examples later on. Number 3, ألا يكون المعدى حكما لا يعقل معناه. The ruling which you're trying to carry forward, meaning the asal, or the meaning, the ruling that you're trying to extend is a hukam which we don't understand. The rule is the rationale beyond our comprehension. Number 4, it has to be amr shar'i, not amr lughawi. And number 5, the faraq can't mansoos alayh. And he explained each one in brief. But I explained the 5 before. The shart of the asal is, it can't be ghayr ma'qul. The shart of the illa, that it must be amr lughawi. The shart of the faraq is that it must be not mansoos alayh. And 2 shart am is, it's not muqabid nas and not yutaghir the nas. Yes, you have those 5? Actually, example number shart number 1. Look. ومثال القياس في مقابلة النص فيما حكي أن الحسن بن زياد سئل عن القهقهة في الصلاة فقال انتقضت الطهارة بها. Hassan ibn Ziyad, rahmatullahi alayhi, one of the students of Imam Abu Hanifa, or the grand students, meaning students of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi alayhi. He was asked regarding qiyas qahqaha fi salah. Are you following? So he said it breaks wudu. Fahim? So the person asked, look, لو قذف محصنة في الصلاة. What's worse, laughing or accusing a woman who has not committed zina or committing zina? What's worse? Is laughing a sin? Is qahqaha a sin? The worst we can say is qahqaha is ghafla. That you're laughing so much, you're negligent of the hereafter, you unaware, or you disrespectful to salah. But if you perform your salah and you said, you done zina, this is a great sin. Yes, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ. What's the punishment? They will be whipped for making a false accusation. Yes? So now, what's worse? Laughing or qazf al-muhsanat? Qazf al-muhsanat. But you say, the Ahnaf say, if you do qazf al-muhsanat in salah, what happens? Your salah will break for talking, but your wuzu will not break. Do you understand? You get the qiyas, are they saying? So, anna qazf al-muhsanat. However, qazf al-muhsanat is greater jinayat, it's a greater crime. فكيف ينتقد بالقهقه وهي دونه. Qiyas makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yes? Because it makes lots of sense. Like, anyway, because look, does anything verbal, anything break tahara anywhere? No. Does any verbal sin break any sin break tahara? No. You can go against like this. It's against rationale totally. You find, but what do we say? هذا قياس صحيح. It makes a lot of sense with qiyas. But it reached Imam Abu Hanifa. Now, later they say, oh, this hadith is weak. But we're saying, it reached Imam Abu Hanifa. It reached the fuqaha of Kufa, this mas'ala. When it reached them, they had itminan, that this hadith was authentic. It reached them that this incident took place. They may not have, so later on, when Imam Bukhari came in 256, when he passed away in 256, Imam Abu Hanifa in 120, 130, 140, how they got this information, they had itminan that this is a mas'ala. So to them is what it goes against all of our qiyas. We know this. Imam Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi, he does nasr all the time, he does qiyas all the time. To prove something. If it goes against a nas, it reached us, what do you want us to do? We say we don't follow our qiyas, we follow nas comes first. So later, maybe when it reached the later muhaddithun, the sanad that it reached them with was not authentic, so they don't do amal upon it. But when it reached our fuqaha, it reached them in such a way that they were had itminan on this. They weren't dumb people that listen to any. So maybe the sanad that reached us later on, is that, for example, you could have a court case. It reached the qazi, let's say in 1900s, a court case. So it reached the qazi with authenticity. When we go back in 100 years ago, 120 years ago, same this between us, Imam Bukhari, Imam Abu Hanifa. 120 years roughly, isn't it? So now we're in 2024. And so we say, well, the judge passed evidence based on weak evidence. But we don't know how the judge made, how it reached him. You're funny. So later people say, oh, these people were weak. Or maybe there are other people who narrated the story, but the one who narrated the story to the judge, he was authentic. So the judge at that time, how he got the information, he passed the judgment. And you find 120 years later, we come and say, well, that was not an authentic story, but the judge got it from authentic sources, so he made a decision based on that. So Imam Abu Hanifa and the fuqaha of that time, the hadith of qahqaha reached them with itminan. They were certain, or they were content. This is the masala, even though at qiyas. So they said, qiyas comes first, qiyas goes second, and what do we give preference to? We give preference to nas, even though it goes against qiyas. So the first masala is, we can only do qiyas if it doesn't go against the nas. Another example. إذا قلنا جاز حج المرأة مع المحرم محرم yes فيجوز مع الأمينات yes كان هذا قياسا في مقابلة النص. What do we say? The masla is a woman can do Hajj in the company of a mahram. Mahram, meaning a person she cannot marry. So now what's illa regarding this? The illa regarding this is when she's a mahram, what happens now? In her journey, she's safe, she has companionship, she has whatever. Correct? So what if a woman is traveling with many other women? Mal aminat, meaning other women who we can trust. So she herself doesn't have a mahram, but there are many other women going. What are they? Many other women traveling. And these other men are trustworthy. So what if she travels with these women? Is that okay? Is that permissible? So we say, what's the illa here? What's the illa here? So Imam Shafi rahmatullah says the illa in the first one is what? That she should be at peace. The woman traveling, her safety is guaranteed. So what guarantees safety? Or what Allah guarantees safety, but what provides safety and protection in the journey for the woman? A mahram. So if you've got Amina, it also provides safety. Women who are safe, trustworthy, with other men around with them. So now it gives a safety and itminan. We say, well, fine, makes sense, the qiyas. However, that's بمقابلة النص. Because what comes in the hadith? لا يحل لامرأة تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أن تسافر فوق 3 أيام ولياليها إلا ومعها أبوها أو زوجها أو ذو رحم محرم منها. So the nas comes, qiyas is fine, but the nas is here. Fine? Or the other way, yeah, that's what Imam can say, well, this is Am, Khusanul Bad, Imam Shafi, etc. But yes, but you get the masla. Is it still the masla or not? Is there a difference regarding in our time? That's all to do with the hidayah. For now, this is the asal. This is the qaida being applied. We'll continue for you tomorrow, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. So we are continuing with the shara'i't of qiyas. So the second shart of qiyas is this, that وهو ما يتضمن تغيير حكم من أحكام النص. So what we say, that for the qiyas to be correct, the qiyas must not involve changing the nas in any form. Okay, for example, if you go back to the ayah of wudu, in the ayah of wudu, Allah says فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ. So every sentence has a maf'ul bihi, maf'ul lahu, maf'ul ajlihi, hal, etc. If it's not mentioned, that means mutlaq in that regard. So Allah says فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. So the maf'ul bihi is muqayyad, you have to wash wujuhakum. Does it mention hal of a niyyah, nawina bin niyyati? No. So now it's mutlaq regarding niyyah. So if you add niyyah, you're making a mutlaq into a muqayyad. You get the argument? Okay. Now in tayammum, what do we have to do? Ittifaqan ijma'an, you have to have what in tayammum? Niyyah. So if you say our maqis alay is tayammum, because and the illa is tahara. So acquisition of tahara is our base. In tayammum, what do you have to have? Niyyah. What's wudu also? An acquisition of tahara. So if you have to acquire tahara in tayammum and acquire tahara in wudu, in here you need niyyah, and here you should also need niyyah. You get the qiyas? We say fine. However, when you do this, what are you doing? You are then changing the mutlaq in the ayah to muqayyad. So you're doing taghyeeru hukmi min ahkam nas. One of the rules of the nas is mutlaq. So therefore, we will say that it's not permissible to, this qiyas is not going to be, we won't accept this qiyas. Because it includes or it necessitates changing the nas. Another example, we're saying here, فَإِنَّ هَذَا يُوجِبُ تَغْيِيرَ آيَةِ الْوُضُوءِ. This necessitates changing the ayah of wudu from mutlaq to muqayyad. وكذلك similarly إذا قلنا الطواف بالبيت صلاة بالخبر أي بالحديث. It comes in a hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that performing tawaf is just like performing salah, except that you're allowed to talk. So we say here now, what do you need to have? فَيُشْتَرَطُ لَهُ الطَّهَارَةُ وَسَتْرُ الْأَوْرَةِ كَالصَّلَاةِ. Are you following? So now, if we put the condition of tahara and the condition of satrul awra, like in salah, based on bil khabar. So at-tawafu bil bayt. The tawaf bil bayt is salah. Ay kas salah. Based on the khabar, the hadith. And we say, so just as, so you have the maqis alayhis, salah, the maqis is tawaf. And what's the resemblance, what's the illa mushraka that the Prophet said it is? The Prophet hasn't tashbih himself. So therefore, the conditions of salah must also apply to tahara. Sorry, of salah must also apply to tawaf, such as satrul awra and tahara. If you do this, what we're going to do? We're going to end up doing كان هذا قياسا يوجب تغيير نص الطواف أي فليتطوفوا بالبيت العتيق. Are you following? So now we change the mutlaq, just do tawaf from mutlaq to muqayyad. Are you following? It's obviously you can have questions, you can raise questions on this, but this is the rule he's explaining. You can explain what's the word mushabah left in. If it's not mushabah in these, then what's the mushabah in, etc. But this is how he's explaining the masla. Acha. The third scenario that we have is that the asal must not be khilafun lil qiyas, ma la yuqalu ma'nahu. It must not be something that we can't we can't understand and perceive. Because we can only extract the illah. And so if the asal follows a principle that we as human beings can comprehend, we can then do ta'addi and expand and carry forward this ruling to another. Yes? However, if the asal, we don't understand the asal, we're struggling with the asal, then what's going to happen? How can we take it to something else? So for example, في حق جواز التوضي بنبيذ التمر فإنه لو قال جاز بغير من الأنبذة بالقياس على نبيذ التمر أو قال لو لا يصح. So all of this لا يصح. Okay? What's the ruling? Look, there's a hadith. In the hadith, it mentions that the Prophet ﷺ done wudu with nabidhu tamar. You have water, you put dates inside, and some of the sweetness comes into the water. Now, the longer you leave it in, the more the water will change. And if you cook it or you heat it on fire, more will come in. So that's a masla. So which level was it at, we don't know. But just say here, you have nabidhu tamar. What do you have? Nabidhu tamar. There's a hadith. And that hadith reached the A'immah of Ahnaf with siha. And they were content on this hadith. So they said, if you have nabidhu tamar, what can you do? You can do wudu with this. Okay? But is that ma'qul al-ma'na or ghayr ma'qul al-ma'na? Ta'abbud. Because nabidhu tamar, the properties have changed. So when the properties change, it doesn't make sense for us to do wudu with this. But it's a khabar. So based on this, what do? We allow the asal. But the asal is khilaf al-qiyas. Ghayr ma'qul al-ma'na. Beyond our understanding. Yes? So if we say, you can do wudu with nabidhul zabib, we can do wudu with nabiz of, I don't know what other fruits you can make. Orange, I don't know, can you make orange, nabiz of orange? You get what I'm saying? Infusion. We said no. We said, well, why do you need nabidh tamar? We said nabidh tamar is thabit bin nas khilafun lil qiyas. Are you following? Yes. فَإِنَّهُ لَوْ قَالَ جَازَ عَلَى نَبِيذِ التَّمَرِ. If you say this, it is permissible with other nabidh. Then no. Similarly, what do we say? That if somebody, it comes in a hadith, like, okay, next masla is, we allow, can you do bina in salah or not? It can be quduri as well. That you're performing salah, you have a nosebleed. What are you allowed to do? Do bina, meaning go and do wudu and perform salah, continue salah. However, if you look at it, this is not really adding up to the other principles that we have. Because tahara is contrary to salah. If any of the shara'i of salah are not found, what happens? Salah breaks. If you turn it from the qibla, or if, you get it. But because it comes in the hadith, so we say that if you have nosebleed, you can go and do wudu and come back and continue salah as you were. So somebody said, okay, that means that anytime what happens? Anytime is najasa, and your wudu breaks, you can do it. He said no. Because the asal is what? Ma la yuqalu ma'na. So for example, shujja fi salati, somebody wounded him on his head. Or he fell asleep in sajda and he had an ihtilam. And then what did he do? Can he go and do ghusl and come back? So why? In the top masala, you said that if you have a nosebleed, what can you do? You can do bina. Yes? So you say, well, the asal is thabit bin nas, khilafan lil qiyas. So we accept the nas. But we don't ta'addi of this ruling to other things. Ala ma sabaqulha. If you have a hadath, yes? If you pass spin or if you do what? Have a nosebleed. So this is permissible for the nas, but the nas itself is khilafun lil qiyas. We don't transfer other things onto this. Do you understand? Are you following? Acha. لأن الحكم في الأصل المقيس عليه, the ruling in the مقيس عليه is لم يقل معناه, we don't understand the meaning, the rationale, the reasoning behind of it. فاستحال, it is now impossible تعديته, to transfer it to the فرع. ومثل هذا قال أصحاب الشافعي. Based upon this, the أصحاب الشافعي رحمة الله عليه have said قلتان نجستان. What did they say? إذا بلغ الماء قلتين لم يحمل الخبث. Now when water reaches two قلة according to them is like a big pot, you know, like a jar, like a big, not a jar, but like almost this size pot, not be right word, like a drum almost, correct? So the hadith again has different interpretations, or what does qullatan mean? Different people have different meanings of this, but we say here that the if it reaches qullatan najisatan idha ijtama'a. So if you got one qulla, yes, so let's say you have water equal to two qulla, that big, and the impurity falls on it, it will not become impure unless the color, taste or smell changes. Okay? But what if you have one qulla with impurity inside of it, a bit of impurity? What does that become according to them? Najis. If you got another qulla, yes, and you got a bit of impurity inside of that, what happens now? Najis. If you make this into, you put it into one big container, qullatan, both becomes what? It says, إِذَا اجْتَمَعَتَا, now it's what? Qullatan. And the najasa cannot be seen. What does it become? صَارَتَا طَاهِرَتَيْن. They both become what? They both become what? Pure. So therefore, you put it together, what happens now? They become pure. Now if you got pure water, and you put it in two containers, what happens? They become impure. Are you following what the argument is? I don't know if the Ashabu Shafi say this or this is, the quote is correct, but you get it. You following? So we say we will not go with this masla. Why? بالقياس على ما إذا وقعت النجاسة وقعت النجاسة. Because why? What do we say? That if you do qiyas, if najasa falls in a qullatain, that doesn't become impure. So therefore, if it's qulla, merge it together, separate. It was impure, came into qullatain, so therefore it's not najis. They separate it again. Now it's tahir. When they separate tahir into two parts, it becomes really impure. We say we don't accept that tashri, because the qullatan to us means large amount of water. It's not the buckets or the drums. It's a bit more than this. But if we do accept it, لو ثبت في الأصل, if we accept this in the what? The asal. If we do accept that water falling into najah qullatayn doesn't make it impure, we say this is what? غير معقول المعنى. So therefore, we will not attempt to transfer this where? Onto something else. Do you understand? Yes, so this is the three examples we've done so far. We do the exact examples inshallah another day inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So now we're moving on to the fourth condition that must be met for qiyas to be sahih. Okay? And this fourth condition, ومثال الرابع, the example of the fourth condition is وهو ما يكون التعليل لأمر شرعي لا لأمر لغوي. That the illah must be an amr shari'i, not an amr lughawi. What does that mean? For example, if you have water and in that water you put dates, okay, then you cook it. What do? You cook it. Now how much do you cook it? You cook it until a half. Munassaf. Nisfun means half. So, al-munassaf, until half of it evaporates. So Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi, and then they say al-matbukh al-munassaf khamr. That formula which you have dates and you have water, then you cook it, al-matbukh al-munassaf. How much you cook it? Halfway. This is khamr. This is khamr. Why is it khamr? Because لأن الخمر إنما كان خمرا لأنه يخامر الأقل. So what they're saying here now, what's khamar yukhamiru mukhamaratan mean? What's khimar in Hajj and also in the janais? The thing that covers the woman's hair is called the khimar. So the word khamr has the meaning of covering. So yukhamiru al-aqla means that it covers the intellect, and it overrides the intellect. It makes one loses his senses properly, meaning he doesn't perceive what's going on. وغيره يخامر العقل. So إنما الخمر والميسر. So khamr is haram 100%, yes. And then to say that al-matbukh al-munassaf is also khamr. It has the exact, it is khamr. Yes, what is it? What is it? We're not saying it's halal. We're saying it's not khamr. Are you following? And we're not saying it's good to drink it. But we're saying it's not khamr. Because why? To call it khamr is based on al-qiyas lughwi. Because you're saying, okay, what is khamr? Innama al-khamru. Khamr, what does khamrun mean? Khamrun means to cover the intellect. So al-matbukh al-munassaf covers the intellect. يخامر العقل أيضا فيكون خمرا بالقياس. Now we're saying it's not an illa, it's not an illa shar'iyya, it's illa lughawiyya. Are you following? والسارق إنما كان سارقا لأنه أخذ مال الغير بطريق الخفية. A sariq is only called what? A sariq because he has taken somebody else's wealth secretly. What has he done? He has taken somebody else's wealth how? Secretly. Therefore, an-nabash, the one who has taken the cloth or the clothing from a recently buried deceased, في هذا المعنى, because what? لغة أخذ مال الغير الخفية. That's what we call sariq. So now, al-matbukh al-munassaf is also khamr. Because why? It covers because the word khamr means to cover the intellect. So khamr is haram, there's hudud on khamr. So therefore the munassaf is also khamr. Similarly, nabash is a sariq because of the lughwi ishtiraq. This is what Imam Shafi rahmatullahi alayhi wa ashabuhu, how he's explained it here. We say these qiyas, we say we don't accept these qiyas. We're not saying drinking al-matbukh al-munassaf is good. We're not saying an-nabash is not a crime. It's not a criminal. We're saying it's not a sariq. Al-matbukh al-munassaf is not khamar. You understand? It has its own ruling. فهمت؟ وهذا القياس وهذا قياس في اللغة. This is a qiyas based upon what? لغة. مع اعترافه أن الاسم لم يوضع له في اللغة. Was accepting that لغة, the word sariq, you don't call it nabash a sariq. You following? Do you understand? You wouldn't call a person who steals something from the grave a sariq lughatan. That's not what that's not how the lugha is being coined. The word is being coined. Similarly, the word khamr is not coined for al-matbukh al-munassaf. It's coined for the one made from what do you call it? From grapes, etc. What we're saying here, look, let me show you, he's trying to prove here why we wouldn't take a qiyas al-lughwi. والدليل على هذا النوع من القياس, the dalil that this type of qiyas is fasid is أن العرب تسمي الفرس أدهم لسواده وكميتا لحمرته. Okay, we have two words for horses. Adham, yes, and then we have kamit. So an adham, what's an adham? An adham is a horse which is very black, a dark horse called adham. And a horse which is reddish, not reddish, brownish, we call it kamit. Are you following? Now, if you have a person who is dark, who is black, a zanji, they call a dark person, black skin. Can you call him an adham? Because the mushtarak in the lugha, isn't it? Lughatan duhmun means to be dark black. Can you call him an adham? If you have a thawb al-ahmar, red cloth, so the illa, what's a kamit mean lughatan? Red. So can you call the thawb al-ahmar red? Yes. So we're saying here, just because they have, because ishtiraq al-lughawi, qiyas al-lughawi is not mu'tabar. Yes? So the same way you can't call an adham, lughatan, the root letter dahmun have the meaning of dahma, is meaning dark, black. Yes? And the Arabs have called a black horse adham. The root has kamata, has the meaning of reddish, dark red, brownish. You cannot say, okay, any red, brown thing we'll call a kamit. Because the logatan, what's it called for a kamit? A horse. Yes? So similarly, if you go to the previous slide, sariq has a particular itlaq. The word khamr has a particular itlaq. So we cannot say a person who steals from the grave is a sariq. He has similarities to sariq. We can apply similar punishment to sariq, but he's not a sariq. Al-matbukh al-munassaf. You got something cooked, fermented until half. If it causes intoxication, you can give a ruling of karaha, hurma, etc. That's all you do in hidayah. But it is not khamr. You understand? So just as you can see the facade very clearly in this example. Calling a black person adham or calling a red cloth a kamit is not permissible. That's not how you call it. You don't say, oh, this is a kamit. This is a adham. Similarly, he's not a sariq. That is not khamr. It has resemblances, and you can give rulings on it, but it won't have the exact same ruling as sariq, and it won't have the exact same ruling as a khamr. Do you understand so far? Okay. وَلَوْ جَرَتِ الْقِيَاسِ الْمُقَايَسَةِ. If qiyas could have been used in asami, in names, al-lughawiyya, لَجَازَ ذَلِكَ لِوُجُودِ الْإِلَّةِ. Then we would have agreed that it is permissible to do it here. Why? Because the illah is found dark, dark, black, black, red, red. Covering the akal, stealing something secretly. So names cannot be transferred from one thing to another based on qiyas al-lughawiyya. Do you understand? You got it? Okay. Why don't we say, next point is, okay, why don't we say it has the same ruling? You got next point. Okay. Let's say, well, okay, a khamar is, you don't want to accept that al-matbukh al-munassaf is khamar. Why can't we say, okay, it's similar to it, has the same rulings? Say, وَلِأَنَّ هَذَا يُؤَدِّي إِلَىٰ إِبْطَالِ الْأَسْبَابِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ. That the Sharia has put particular rulings on particular things for a particular reason. The Sharia has put particular rulings on particular things for a particular reason. If we were to, what are we to do? If we were to say, extend the ruling onto something else, we will be nullifying the Shari'i ruling. Why? Look. وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ الشَّرْعَ جَعَلَ السَّرِقَةَ. Because the Sharia has made sariqah, theft, the word sariqah, what the Arabs call sariqah, the sabab for particular types of ruling. When you find the word sariq, as-sariqu was-sariqatu faqta'u aydiyahuma jaza'an bima kasaba nakalan min Allah. Yes? So the Sharia has made sariqah what? The ruling for or sabab for particular type of ruling. Now, فَإِذَا أَلَّقْنَا الْحُكْمَ بِمَا هُوَ عَمُّ مِنَ السَّرِقَةِ. If we say that this ruling applies to sariqah and things which are more general than sariqah, وَهُوَ أَخْذُ مَالِ الْغَيْرِ عَلَى طَرِيقِ الْخُفْيَةِ. We say that this rule applies to things more common than sariqah. Then what are we doing? The Sharia says it's for sariqah, you're saying for something more general than sariqah. If you say the rule is for khamar, are you saying no, for anything more than khamar? Then what are you doing? Now the shara, the sabab, the Sharia has appointed you changing this. Are you following? Tabayyana, if you do all this, it will become clear. If you do ta'liq, we link the hukam, we attach the hukam to something more general, it becomes clear that the sabab originally is an illah, something. Ma'nan is something, huwa ghayru sariqah, it's not sariqah. So what's the point of saying as-sariq wa sariqah? Why not use a more common word? So there are two reasons we're not agreeing with your ruling that nabash is a sariq and munassaf is khamar. Why? Just because they have same meanings, you can't transfer the rulings. Just as you can't call a black person adham, you can't call a red cloth ahmar. Because the sharing in the meaning of black, it's not meaning you can transfer the name. Are you following? And if we say well, the ruling we make the ruling more general, then you're doing ibtal of the asbabu shari'iyya. وكذلك جعل شرب الخمر وكذلك جعل الشريعة الشرع شرب الخمر سببا لنوع من الأحكام. فإذا ألقنا الحكم بأمر أأم من الخمر تبين أن الحكم كان في الأصل متعلقا بغير الخمر. فهمت؟ Is that clear? Acha. The fifth ruling. What's the fifth condition for a qiyas to be correct? The fifth condition for a qiyas to be correct is, وهو, an example is ما لا يكون الفرع منصوصا عليه. You only do a qiyas when there is no ruling for the item. فهمت? You won't do qiyas for a hajj, hajj for a zana, because Allah said كتب عليكم الصيام ولله أن الناس حج البيت. It's already a nas. Qiyas is only viable when there is no nas. Correct? So therefore, if we have a nas regarding a particular issue, we will not do qiyas regarding that mas'ala. For example, i'taqu ar-rakabatil kafira. Are we allowed to free a disbelieving slave? In kafaratul yameen and kafaratul zihar. لا يجوز بالقياس على كفارة القتل. What do we have here? If a person commits involuntary manslaughter, I mean he kills somebody, but he didn't intend to kill them. Brakes failed, negligence, he left the gun around and the gun went off. Whatever, he left, he put Clorox or bleach in a place where it could have easily consumed and the person got mistake. All these are kind of khata'an, yes? What does he have to do now? فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مُؤْمِنَةٍ. This goes back to the mutlaq muqayyid masala before as well. However, when we have two other masais, وَلَكِنْ يُؤَاخِذُكُمْ بِمَا أَقَّدْتُمُ الْأَيْمَانِ كَفَارَةُ الْيَمِينِ, or وَالَّذِينَ يُظَاهِرُونَ مِنْ نِسَائِهِمْ. In these masala is تَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ, تَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ. So you cannot do qiyas that's saying, one is a mutlaq muqayyid that we did a long time ago, and the next way is saying you can't do qiyas. I say, well, because mu'mina is in here, it has a mu'mina in here as well. Why? Because this is mansoos. This is mas'alatun mansusa. The Sharia has already given us the hukam regarding tahrul raqaba for aqattum al-ayman. And Sharia has already given us a ruling regarding zihar. Because there's a ruling for zihar, there's a ruling for yameen munaqida, we will not transfer the qiyas from here over to here. Is that clear to everybody? So, you can only do qiyas when there is no nas for that masala. If it is mansoos alay, there is a nas. There's no need for a qiyas. Sharia has already told us what the ruling is. We don't need to try and derive the ruling. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Another example of you cannot do qiyas in a mansoos alay. وَلَوْ جَامَ الْمُظَاهِرِ فِي خِلَالِ الْإِطْعَامِ يَسْتَأْنِفُ الْإِطْعَامِ بِالْقِيَاسِ عَلَى الصَّوْمِ. That if, let me explain the masala first. What's the masala? وَالَّذِينَ يُظَاهِرُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ ثُمَّ يُعُودُونَ لِمَا قَالُوا. If you do zihar with your wives, then you want to break the zihar. Then you have to do tahrir raqabah. You have to free a raqabah. But how? مِن قَبْلِ أَن يَتَمَاسَّا. Before husband and wife come back together again. They touch each other again, meaning cohabit again. So tahrir raqabah is muqayyad with what? قَبْلَ التَّمَاس. However, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ, if you're not able to free a slave, you don't have that much wealth, then what do you have to do? شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعَيْنِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَتَمَاسَّا. You have to do what? Fast 2 months before you can do what? Consummate them, cohabit again. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَإِطْعَامُ سِتِّينَ مِسْكِينًا. And if you do not have the ability to do what? Fast for 2 months consecutively, you're ill, you're old, then إِطْعَامُ سِتِّينَ مِسْكِينًا. What must you do? You must feed 60 poor people. Now, you can't. Now, what's the ruling? It's again to do with mutlaq and muqayyid as well. What do we say here? We cannot say that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned min qabli an yatamassa regarding tahrir raqaba, you have to free a slave, then you can allow to consume it, then come back together. Or you have to fast for 60 days, 2 months continuously, then come back together. We cannot say because of this we do qiyas upon these two and say he is also min qabla an yatamassa. Why? Because there's a separate nas. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَإِطْعَامُ سِتِّينَ مِسْكِينًا. And there is no mention of this. For him. So one is, qiyas is not sahih because of mansoos. And number two, we also done before, qayd, muqayyad. It's a different ruling. And then the sharia will not bring the qayd over from that previous masala. Another example. وَالْمُتَمَتِّعْ إِذَا لَمْ يَسُمْ فِي أَيَّامِ التَّشْرِيقِ. If a person is doing tamattu', فَمَنْ تَمَتَّعَ بِالْأُمْرَةِ إِلَى الْحَجِّ. One part is missing? Okay. وَيَجُوزُ لِلْمُحْصَرِ, another qiyas. وَيَجُوزُ لِلْمُحْصَرِ, a person goes for Hajj and then he's not able to reach the haram for whatever reason, an adu, an illness. For it is permissible for him أن يتحلل. He becomes halal from his what? He becomes halal from his ihram by fasting. Based on what? Based on qiyas of tamattu. What does the Quran say? وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّةَ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. Complete your Hajj and Umrah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are confined, restricted, not able to reach there, what do you do? وَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ. What do you do? A hadi. Now this is mansus alayh. This is only what is mentioned here. مَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ. But if you tamattu bil Umrah, what do you have to do? فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ. Yes? And if you can't have Hajj, then what do? فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ وَسَبْتٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ. So in here, in tamattu, what do we have? You either do a Hajj, and if Hajj is not available, then what do? Sawm. That's the ruling for tamattu. In the nas for Hajj and ihsar for Hajj, what do you have? Only Hajj. We say you cannot do qiyas and bring the siyam over onto this one. Why? This has its own nas, this has its own nas. Each nas has its own fa'idah. So therefore, we will not bring you cannot do qiyas of muhsar, of ihsar upon tamattu'. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Another example, similarly. والمتمتع إذا لم يصم في أيام التشريق يصوم بعدها بالقياس على قضاء رمضان. What's قضاء رمضان? فمن كان منكم مريضا ولا سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. If fast becomes compulsory upon you, you were ill or you were traveling and unable to fulfill the fast, what do? من أيام أخر. So the nas is من أيام أخر. So the ruling is you have a farz fast, you can't complete it, what do you have to do? Do it in other days. So therefore we say the same thing in tamattu'. That you have to do Hajj. If you can't do Hajj, what do you have to do? Fast for 3 days in Hajj and 7 when you get back home. If you were sick, you were unable to fast 3 days, what can the qiyas be? The qiyas upon min ayyamin ukhar. Is that permissible? No. Why is it not permissible according to us? Because look, the tamattu', the sawm has its own nas, this is another nas. So all of these are mansus alayh. What all of these? Mansus alayh. So you cannot do qiyas for this mas'ala because the Sharia already mentions فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ وَسَبْعَةٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ. He has mentioned to us his own ruling. So therefore we will not do qiyas for this. You understand? Yes? And then this is a mistake copy extra same thing. Do you understand? Any questions regarding this? Okay, let's stop here inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.